Welcome to New Business in Later Life, where we prove that it's never too late to pursue your entrepreneurial dreams. You will meet remarkable individuals who launch successful businesses over 50, sharing their stories, challenges, and enthusiasm. Your host, Ildiko, is a former social housing professional, textile designer, and teacher who described herself as a life artist. She is now a property professional, business network host, and facilitator of the Entrepreneurs Club. Subscribe now to hear these inspiring stories every week.
I've recently spoken to someone who showed me an article, a little magazine article, that detailed that we have about 7 different coaches in our lives.
Yes.
And one of them could actually be our polar opposite, and it should be a polar opposite, which could be like, obviously we are now of the older generation.
Yep.
So we could look to a 20-something-year-old because obviously they are growing up with the modern technology and can give us a completely different outlook on life.
Yep.
And they might not be, certainly not as life experienced as we are, but probably not as successful in terms of running a business or whatever, just for the sheer fact that they are that much younger and not had the number of years. But they could teach us all sorts of things.
Yeah, and it's interesting because my clients are all different ages. And I enjoy, again, working with all different ages, all different clients, because the younger ones actually teach me things, or I actually learn from them. Well, all of them I learn something from, really. Yeah, all of them I do. So it is a bit of a two-way thing. I'm the facilitator, I'm the enabler, but there's things that I'm learning from them. And I love the attitude to life and they're because of their different education, because the different, what they've experienced in life being different. Technical world for a start.
Yes.
Growing up where you've always got an iPhone or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the way they look at life in such a different way is brilliant, because that keeps me on my toes. It keeps me from, always having to think about, well, what's the perspective on this? How does this work? How as a young person, how do you think of that?
Yeah.
Rather than
So can you give us some actual examples of what your youngest mentees have taught you?
I'm going to give you. So I'm going to give you an example. They're not actually my mentee, but I sat in a meeting. I'm on a governor of a local college.
Okay.
And we have student governors on this board.
Makes sense.
So for the higher education and for the further education. And it's really enlightening to hear their views for what we're talking about, because most of us are at least middle age, if not more.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of being on the board of governors, you've got to have some time to do it and all that sort of thing. Right. So anyway, they were talking about what the college does is they do quite a lot of surveys to know what they need to do for the students. So
do they survey the students?
Survey the students.
Okay.
To make sure that they're doing what the students want, right, in the right way. So what do you want? And what the student governors reported back was there were too many surveys. They were having too many surveys.
I was going to ask, do the students actually answer the surveys?
Right. And they said, we appreciate why you do the surveys, because it's to get information.
Yeah.
To help them. They said, but can we suggest something? So we said, suggest.
That's what you're here for.
Instead of having everything on our phone, the surveys coming through online, like on our phone or on our laptop or whatever, can we have them on a piece of paper, please, for us to fill in? Now, you can imagine all of us older ones, our jaws dropped, because as far as we're concerned, this is how what we did.
Yes.
Fill in surveys on a piece of paper. But that's not what the young people do these days, right? So
it's almost refreshing to hear that even younger people actually appreciate the difference between putting pen to paper.
Yep, absolutely.
I must admit that I kind of perceive that can young people even use a pen?
Yes.
I know it sounds really silly, but okay, I don't really have much sort of contact with school-aged kids or young adults, but it feels like the world is going that way. That do they actually know how to use a pen and a pencil and
Absolutely.
paper?
And of course they use it in schools and all the time, sort of like, online on, as I say, and they said so that we can just fill it in like while we're sitting, having a coffee or just sitting, having a chat or lunch or whatever. They said, because we're really tired of having to do everything on a screen and it's and sort of filling it. That's what we do all day long. And on top of that, they said, it's very easy to just scroll across or just go past that email or whatever. Whereas if you're given a piece of paper, it's quite nice to have it physically and we get our pen out. And we were all absolutely aghast. Right? If we'd suggested that, it'd be like, what? No, I don't, yeah. But that's what they asked for. And then they said, it's also really good to have information on leaflets if you just drop leaflets round. And again,
visual, isn't
visual.
it? Well, and actually, let's go back. I mean, as teachers, we know that there's the visual, there's the audio, there's the kinesthetic, and there's the combined people. Every single person learns better, different way. And actually, probably all of us need all of these for it to completely sink in.
Absolutely.
But you know what this story made me think? How hypocritical are we?
Exactly.
for telling of sort of always referring to the youth that they're forever on their phone, or so are adults. Come on, the other day I stood in a bus stop and there were about 6-7 people and every one of us were just like bent down over our phone.
Yeah.
And at the same time at school they are given absolutely everything to access on their phone. But that's actually really refreshing to hear. The youngsters equally recognize that screen time is detrimental to them. And can we just have a bit of a change and a bit of a difference?
Yeah. So that's really altered my thinking, because my thinking would always be everybody wants everything online, everybody, sent through to them and all that. And now I've thought, well, actually, maybe they